Hello, and welcome to my podcast on UNDRIP from the Indigenous Peoples' perspective. UNDRIP is the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, established 2007. Canada officially adopted it in 2016. Indigenous peoples would benefit from all the articles in UNDRIP, but Articles 11 to 17, Culture and Language, and Education and Public Information, as well as 20 to 24, Economic and Social Rights and Vulnerable Populations, could be revolutionary for their human rights. Articles 11 to 17 state that Indigenous peoples have the right to practice and preserve their cultural and spiritual traditions and customs, including their histories, languages, oral traditions, philosophies, writing systems, and literatures. States must take effective measures to ensure protection of such rights, to ensure Indigenous peoples can understand and be understood in certain proceedings, and to enable access to and/or perpetration of ceremonial objects and remains in the possession of states. States, in this case, defines Canada. Articles 14 to 17 state that Indigenous peoples have the right to education, media, and labor protections without discrimination, and to establish and control their own educational and media systems. States must combat discrimination and take measures to ensure accurate media representation of Indigenous cultures, and to protect Indigenous children from labor exploitation. Articles 20 to 24 state that Indigenous peoples have the right to maintain their health practices and to attain the highest standard of health care, and to improve their political, social, and economic systems, especially those concerning subsistence and development priorities and strategies. States shall take effective and special measures to ensure improvement of their conditions, with particular attention to the rights and special needs of Indigenous elders, women, children, and persons with disabilities. States must take measures to ensure women and children are free from violence and discrimination. Now that all the articles I'm talking about today have been summarized, I can dive deeper into them and how they will affect Indigenous peoples and their human rights. Starting with Articles 11 to 13, Culture and Language. As of right now, Indigenous folks must pay to learn their language in school. These are languages that were taken from them. If Articles 11 to 13 were to be implemented, the Canadian government would work actively alongside Indigenous peoples in order to ensure the revitalization of a vibrant and diverse set of languages. This could mean free college courses or an option for Indigenous language in high school. Alongside language, cultural traditions can also be practiced again with complete freedom. The government could potentially fund materials for celebrations and prevent discrimination against people wearing traditional regalia. This would allow people practicing these traditions to be unconcerned with outside perception and not in fear of discrimination. Both relating and contrasting this, giving Indigenous peoples the right to own their own land could speed up development process of their communities. They wouldn't have to go through the Canadian government first, which would take away a lot of complications. They could develop their own economy, healthcare systems, and schools revolving around their beliefs. Of course, many Indigenous people may not agree with each other. Some may be fine with the way their lifestyle is now, but that happens in any group. There's disagreement naturally. And I think, in my opinion, UNDRIP could mean many good things for Indigenous cultures. However, it could be a long and very grueling process as the Canadian government figures out how to implement it. Changes may need to be made. Disagreements will arise because of the diverse opinions of both the government and Indigenous peoples. Overall, though it may take many years to implement, UNDRIP would ultimately help mend the relationship between both groups. Thank you for listening to my podcast on UNDRIP from Indigenous people's perspective. Hope you liked it.